What up, what up? Alright, we're live. You guys, we want to go over the solar stuff today. So people can, get into solar in the future in their van or your tiny house, your home. We're going to kind of go over some of the basics because we're kind of in that stage. I've got things kind of temporaried in, but when people usually show this stuff, it's permanently installed, so you don't kind of see, what's going through the walls and et cetera, et cetera. So while everything's wide open, this is the best time. So this is your typical controller. You can see here PV plus minus, and what do we got there? Your battery plus minus, and your load plus minus, and there's a little old-fashioned phone cord plug-in. And we did skip the first one there, temperature. So temperature, there'll be a sensor that'll go to the side of your batteries. It just kind of regulates the temperature of your batteries, which the controller will make adjustments for cold and warm. Photovoltaic, that's what that stands for. That is your solar panels coming from wherever you got those mounted. You got a positive and negative. Those can be wired parallel and or series. And here's your battery hookups, and here's your load. Load is, what is being consumed, of course. So this is just your typical standard. This is a Renogy product, 40 amp MPPT. I highly recommend, if you're going to buy a controller, definitely go with the MPPT. They're way more efficient than the older models. So don't fall for the older models. They just aren't as efficient. You want the MPPT. From there, we're gonna skip over the inverter. We'll come back to that. That's mounted there. We're going up in the van here. For van life, I highly recommend this guy here or something similar. I mean, you can wire a photovoltaic system lots of different ways, but this guy here is pretty much like an all-in-one system. Makes things very simple. That top right, that's the negatives coming in from everything, and like I say, we're in a temporary stage right now. I just wanted to make sure my refrigerator and appliances and things that I've purchased for the van, I want to make sure everything works, and it's actually operated by 12 volts, so not like I could just plug that in. The Max Air fan, 12 volt as well, so I got that pretty much kind of temporary in. That's where we're at, and all of this right now. So this won't look like this in the future with 10 wires going to the negative lead there. Everything will go to a shunt, and switches where we can shut things down in an emergency and things like that. So we'll get into that kind of stuff later, but this is going to show us the basics, how everything is hooked up. So simple, Simon, and obviously it does work this way, but we can make it safer and that kind of thing later on for sure. So this is just a little contraption I purchased, kind of gives you some information about monitoring your system, your history, things like that. It's just completely Bluetooth, plugs right in, just a little phone cord, stabs right in here. So simple, Simon. That's an addition. You don't need that type of thing, and that would be where you would plug into that other controller that isn't going to give you the options and things like this for van life. So I kind of recommend something like this, and reason being, we can run up to the alternator. If you're going to get into van life, I highly recommend that you have more than one way to charge your batteries. I'm kind of against the generators. That's an opinion. Everybody can carry a generator with them, but if you're going solar, it's kind of going against the grain, right? So I say just hook it up to your alternator for that emergency situation, and you could just fire up the van and get them charged up. Or we can tie to a landline, you know, in a park or at your buddy's house or whatever. You could just plug in with an extension cord to get them charged up. So this here, top left, is going to be your positive coming down from the roof. So I have right here. So that's coming through the roof there. And then our negative lands over here like we got there. Kind of hard for me to see here. We've got these other little guys here too, these little plug-ins, which is going to be temperature, you know, like we had on the other one there. So you'll see on there. So, you know, things are labeled like right there. Alternator, ALT is what that's standing for. So I get up top here and get this wire out of the way. PV, you can see up in there, like I said, the top one. And over here is all of our negatives, if you can see that. It's got negatives from everything, so that's why there's multiple there. And we've got an out. Out is going, let me jump back over on the other side of the bed frame here. Here's our out. This little small guy. These are, as you can see, they're negative. That's coming over to what? Negative. So we're positive, 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 negative, 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 negative. And those little alligator clips are just going up to my temporary fuse box, where I can actually put in fuses to fuse the refrigerator, max air fan, etc. So, like I say, we're in a temporary stage, but this is just something to kind of dial you guys in on how these systems are hooked up. Should have popped the hood before. Well, we'll just go over that on another video. I mean, it's just, you could go to the alternator itself, and a lot of times it's easier just to go to the battery, which is what I did. And I put a inline breaker in up there, so we'll show that in another video. So it just, you know, just easier usually to get to the battery, but you know, who knows these days, these engineers put them underneath the seats and all kinds of crazy things. That's like, you know, they just don't want you to work on things. So, and that's always why I always recommend the 2006 or older Sprinter. It's before the DEF fluid, and you know, to me, yeah, it's nice, it's shiny, it's new, it's a little more slimline, whatever you want to say, keep up with the Joneses. But at the end of the day, the more things you have, the more things break, right? So more sensors and all that jazz. So we'll cut it right there, guys. Catch you on the next one. Just wanted to put out a little solar clip on the basics, and we're in a good stage to kind of show those things. Oh, see, I was headed up front. We do have one other thing. Your inverter, silly. Okay, here's the inverter that I went with. Probably looks massive and something that you know, you may not be familiar with. A lot of times they're, you know, this little box that just, a lot of times this alligator clips, you can just hook them up to your battery direct type of thing. So once again, this is just all temporary to end. So just to show you guys, and like this here will have shrink wrap on it. This, you know, probably actually to really get totally redone. I had a buddy of mine help me out on a weekend. We just kind of threw some plugs on real quick to get this thing hooked up. So on the side here, we've got input. Okay, so what that is your landline, your grid power. So you can, take literally an extension cord, cut the female end off, wire it right to that, and go plug it in. This will kind of monitor the batteries and keep everything dialed in. It does all the maintenance and thinking for you here. Lots of other little hookups that we'll get into throughout this, but we're on the basics. So here's our little phone cords. We could plug in things, and some of these things I'm not even sure. I think Renogy just put them in there for future things that they're going to come out with at a later date. Your top, ouch, almost fell over there. We're in tight quarters here, 100 square feet, trying to build a house. Okay, so our top feed, see there what that one says, output, the other one's input, so that makes sense. Your output is your power coming out, which is 120 volts. And your positive negative here, that's coming directly from your batteries. So the battery feeding in this is going to give you the 120 volts. So right now I just have this, I think we mentioned this on another video, of the baloney cord. This is what I recommend. It's stranded wire to kind of wire up the van to different things throughout the van. You got 3 conductors. If you're putting in a plug, you need a hot, neutral, and a ground. And that stuff is just bulletproof. That's what OSHA approves on construction sites and things like that. You can see the thickness of that rubber around it. So it's like an extension cord on steroids. If you want to make a high quality extension cord, that's the way to do it. Get your end caps, your male and female, and just hook them up yourself, because extension cords today aren't what they used to be, for sure. So I think that pretty much sums it up. And right now I just have this running up to the rooftop AC direct. So, it's not fused, it's not anything. Like I said, we're in a temporary stage. So later what will happen is from that tap we will run, I don't even know if I have it in here. No, I took it out the other day, but I've got a little miniature panel, just like you'd see in your house. So that will run up to an electrical panel, and we'll show you how to get all that stuff grounded properly, etc., etc. So, and then we'll come off with branch circuits, which is your breakers that are in the panel. And then, of course, one will go up to the AC unit. I only have a few things in here that require 120. That's why I went with the 12 volt fridge, a lot more efficient. The wash machine, yep, we got a wash machine in here. That's going to require the 120, so that's where we'll need the inverter. The rooftop AC, and trying to think here what else. We'll probably have a microwave and some kitchen appliance type things, some plugs, 1 or 2 plugs up there on the countertop area for the kitchen. We didn't go through the kitchen yesterday, kind of showed you guys the layout of the van and stuff, but obviously there's only one more spot. So this here will be the kitchen area. There'll be a stove right there over top of the batteries, full-blown RV stove. And yes, I went gas. It's obviously a little bigger than your induction top or something like that, but if I want an oven, actual oven, things like that. And personally in my house, if you've never cooked with gas and you've always had electric, you don't know what you're missing. I mean, you want heat, you want the heat off, right? So that's I like to eat, so I want the gas just for that reason alone. So we'll have to deal with that later. They've got undermounts that are probably the safest and a lot easier, you know, where you can just pull up to a place and have the tanks filled and don't have to worry about even getting inside or whatever. So I may end up going with that, or maybe just the little portable tanks, or refillable, the little 1-pounders. So that's from what I've heard, I guess those are okay to have in a van. But if you're going to put a barbecue size style tank, it's got to be like in a explosion proof type box or something like that. So we'll figure out what we're going to do with that later down the road. Going to have a lot of things to figure out. So figure out what we do, I guess, what route we take. So this one's just about solar. Something else I've been wanting to say before we let you go is insulation. Insulation, in my opinion here, see this stuff here, I'm gonna, you know, go with the foam board and stuff as well because it's cheaper. I don't like the spray-in foam. It's way overly priced, and like everything, you got pros and cons, right? So I think you need that air gap in between layers. It's going to be a lot more effective. But this stuff here, this is called mineral wool, and I had a hard time finding it. I had heard of rock wool, which is used in hydroponics and things like that. So if you're researching insulation per se, might be the problem. This is made by Owens Corning, and it's thermofiber, but it's a fire and sound barrier. So that was probably my issue. So we'll chat soon, guys. Talk to you later.